At the start of the show, our protagonist, Jiyoung, arrives at a medical clinic for her appointment. Being an undergarments designer, she's always busy on the phone, and even today, she is making some deals. After hanging up, she begins to undress for the breast examination, finding it awkward when she realizes that her doctor is a man. It gets even more uncomfortable when she spots his name. It's Ding-ran, a guy she's had a huge crush on since middle school, but hasn't crossed paths with in a decade. When Jiyoung is instructed to remove her bra, a nurse has to help her take it off. Seeing this, Ding-ran promptly points out that she could have unhooked it herself. He proceeds to examine her chest, leaving her feeling deeply embarrassed throughout the procedure. Following the examination, Jiyoung hastily exits the room without looking back, even though Ding-ran informs her that she's forgotten her bra, making her humiliation public. Later on, she discovers that her mother has relocated their home and has also decided to marry her first love, with whom she recently reconnected. Upon meeting her mother at their new residence, Jiyoung is stunned to learn that her mother is marrying none other than Ding-ran's father. What's more is that they will be next-door neighbors. In the next scene, it becomes evident that Ding-ran does remember Jiyoung from middle school. At the hospital, he'd been visibly nervous, even spilling his drink upon hearing her name called as the next patient. When she entered the room, he'd struggled to put on his gloves, revealing that he had his own anxieties about the situation. Later, as Jiyoung discovers that Ding-ran will be joining them for dinner, her first instinct is to make a quick escape before he arrives. However, her plan turns into an epic failure as they comically collide at the doorstep, resulting in them bumping heads. It's revealed that Jiyoung is 3 months older than Ding-ran, which would make him her younger stepbrother. Their awkwardness stems from their graduation day, when Jiyoung had asked him out. At the time, his rejection had been quite cold. In the present, Ding-ran gazes at a secret photo he had taken of Jiyoung, capturing the moment right before she had asked him out. Meanwhile, Jiyoung decides to mend her relationship with Ding-ran and pays a surprise visit to the Ding household for breakfast. However, when she enters his room, she finds him playfully handling her bra. Embarrassed, she tries to snatch it from him, but a hook clings onto his sleeve, leading to a funny tug of war. At that moment, Ding-ran's dad walks in to bring breakfast and is shocked to see them. As a dig for stealing her undergarment, Jiyoung teasingly scolds Ding-ran, referring to him as her little brother. She then swiftly exits, leaving Ding-ran to face his father, while the old man reprimands him for his behavior. In the next scene at her studio, Jiyoung's best friend Liao agrees to model undergarments for her. Later, as Liao leaves work, she narrowly avoids being run over by a man in a suit riding a motorcycle. Although initially annoyed, her irritation disappears when he removes his helmet and reveals his handsome face. When she gets sprayed with water, he comes to her aid, draping his jacket over her. They exchange WeChat information so that she can return his jacket later. As she leaves, the man Qifei leaves a voice message for Ding-ran, confessing that he's fallen in love. Coincidentally, the two are best friends. Afterward, Qifei tells Ding-ran that it was love at first sight, but the latter is skeptical about the whole love at first sight thing. Qifei then asks Ding-ran when he started liking Jiyoung. In a flashback, Jiyoung's mother asked her to take care of Ding-ran, so she invited him over for dinner after school. Unfortunately, he rudely declined and walked away. When it grew late and Jiyoung hadn't returned home, Ding-ran rushed back to school to find her. She was trying to fix her bike but was unsuccessful and had injured her leg, so Ding-ran pushed her home on her broken bike. In the present, Qifei asks Ding-ran what the hell he's going to do now that Jiyoung's mother is marrying his father. Our hero doesn't say anything, but when he checks his phone, his attention is drawn towards a group chat. In it, Liao is asking Jiyoung about her upcoming movie date with Xiao, the blind date her mother set her up on. In the same chat, Jiyoung's mother teases her about Xiao being her future boyfriend, and Ding-ran's father suggests she bring him home for dinner. After going through the entire chat, Ding-ran abruptly leaves the bar, ditching his friend who is in the restroom. Back at home, he angrily walks out with a paper bag and spies on Jiyoung and her date. He then interrupts their goodbye by handing Jiyoung the bag. She looks inside and pulls out her bra. This obviously creates a misunderstanding between our heroine and her date. Jiyoung is bewildered and furious, so she starts chasing after Ding-ran. Upon returning home, they find their parents dancing in the dark and get roped into wedding planning. They bicker like a married couple, and Ding-ran sets 2 boundaries. He will never call Jiyoung his big sister, and he will not be the best man at his father's wedding if she's a bridesmaid. The following day, Liao refuses to take the initiative to contact Qifei. Thankfully, he does, and they agree to meet at her studio. There, Qifei sees Jiyoung and finds her familiar looking. However, before Liao can introduce them, our heroine gets a call and leaves. Later, when Ding-ran returns home, Xiao is already at the dinner table, and his father introduces him as Jiyoung's boyfriend. This makes our heroes squirm, but both Xiao and Jiang say that they're not officially dating. In the meantime, Qifei walks Liao home and asks to come inside for tea. She shyly says it's too late for that. However, the next second, they start kissing passionately and end up in bed. After dinner, the parents talk about how nice Xiao is and how he and Jiang make a great match. A grumpy Ding Ron throws a towel down and pulls out his phone to call Qifei to see if he wants to hang out. The latter says he's not around, and when Ding Ron asks where he is, Qifei just hangs up on him. The following morning, Ding Ron and Jiang eat breakfast together, but ignore each other. She's busy reviewing her designs when suddenly she gets up and says she needs to leave for work. Ding Ron's dad asks her to finish eating first. However, Jiang insists that she's already late for work. In response, Ding Ron says that she was always late for school too, and it's normal for her to be late for work. When she starts whining and squirming about how now she's going to be really late, Ding Ron reluctantly drives her to work. Later at the hospital, he examines Jiang's report and learns that she has a lump in her left breast. He then calls her and arranges to tell her in person. As expected, our girl starts freaking out, but Ding Ron reassures her that it's not that serious and it's not cancerous. She can have a simple procedure to have it removed and she'll be fine. Jiang is understandably upset, and Ding Ron, compassionate for the first time ever, tells her not to worry about it and that it's his responsibility as a doctor to take care of her. The next day, he helps Jiang complete her preoperative exam. He then brings her a pair of bunny socks as he knows she'll be cold during the surgery. Jiang can't help but smile at how cute the socks are. During the surgery, she dreams about her school days when she always used to follow Ding Ron around. She then hears him saying her name over and over. When Jiang opens her eyes and sees him, she asks if the surgery started yet. Ding Ron reveals that it's already ended. The next morning, Jiang tries to put on her socks but is unable to bend forward. Fortunately, Ding Ron comes in, places her feet on his lap, and puts her socks on her feet. She tells him that she doesn't need him to, but he insists that it's his job to take care of her. When he's done, the two stare into each other's eyes, and just as they are about to kiss, they're interrupted by Liao, who has come with flowers and fruits. That evening, Ding Ron pulls a sketchbook out from his nightstand and looks at it. The first page says Jiang and Ding Ron's 10-year plan. Back then, he had a crush on our heroine. He had planned to confess to Jiang by giving her a 10-year plan book. However, he never had the guts to do it. In the present, Ding Ron lies down to sleep with a huge grin on his face. The next day, he swings by Jiang's ward to discharge her and take her home. But Xiao shows up and takes her home instead. The two guys shake hands but get into a back and forth about who's going to take her home until they're interrupted by our heroine, who pushes through with her luggage. Both guys call after her, but she turns around and says that she's called for a ride, so she's leaving. And the next second, she actually runs away. Later, Ding Ron looks over his 10-year plan and writes year 2022 on one of the pages. He thinks to himself that as long as Jiang is not with Xiao, they can be lovers. He then goes out into the living room where his dad and Jiang's mom are writing wedding invitations and discussing the guest list. Ding Ron pours himself a glass of water, but stops drinking it when he hears Mom mention that it would be good if Jiang and Xiao got married. Dad asks if they're together yet, and Mom tells him that Xiao had called and said he was going to confess his feelings to Jiang today. Ding Ron slams down his glass of water, runs to grab his book, and then quickly leaves. He desperately calls Jiang, but she doesn't pick up. Ding Ron then recalls the time she gave him an embroidered shirt and confessed her feelings for him. However, he was too stupid to accept her proposal. He then suddenly realizes that Jiang might be at her friend's studio, so he rushes there. When he arrives at the studio, he sees Jiang and Xiao hugging. When he sees her smile, the book falls out of his hand and lands with a loud thud on the ground. The next morning, Ding Ron begins to ignore our heroine, and Jiang is understandably confused by his aloof behavior. Elsewhere, Qifei makes Liao a latte with a heart on it and a small cake. When she puts her fork into the cake, she pulls out a ring. He wants them to get married, but Liao doesn't seem happy about this. She awkwardly rejects his proposal and leaves, saying she has something important to attend to. In the meantime, Ding Ron returns home from work and finds Jiang waiting to talk to him. However, he tells her that he's tired and they could talk another time. In a flashback to graduation day, Jiang had an argument with a mean girl who also liked Ding Ron. Jiang had said that if the mean girl had tried to snag Ding Ron, then she would do the same. Our heroine told the girl that if Ding Ron accepted her confession, then the mean girl would be the first to know. Meanwhile, Ding Ron overheard the conversation and misunderstood it, believing that Jiang had only confessed to him to win a dispute with her classmate. And so when Jiang confessed to Ding Ron in front of their classmates, he coldly told her that he had no time for her and her boring life. He then walked away, leaving her standing there with the flowers, looking foolish. Back in the present, Ding Ron decides to go back to his hometown to spend some time by himself. He rides around on his bike and helps an old man with his peaches. Later, he finds a puppy and takes it home. After he gives the puppy some food and water, he takes the peach inside and sets it down on the kitchen table. Meanwhile, a sweaty Jiang also arrives in the same town, as her mother had suggested that she go to their old family home for a break. The same old man with the peaches recognizes her and offers her a peach, which she accepts. He then offers her a ride in the back of his truck. Not long after, Dingran and Jiang are standing on the same road, directly across from one another, but since a delivery truck drives between them, they don't actually see each other. Jiang finally arrives at the house, finds the puppy in the doghouse, and wonders where the hell he came from. She pets him, goes inside, and notices the peach on the table. She sets her peach next to it and wonders if someone else is there. That evening, Dingran returns home, thinking he must have left all the lights on by mistake. He's then confused when he notices the second peach on the table. However, he disregards it and goes to brush his teeth. When he enters the bedroom, the light switch isn't working, but he nonetheless slides under the covers and promptly goes to sleep. Eventually, Jiang returns and gets ready for bed as well. She puts her cup next to his before heading to the bedroom. She also notices that the light switch isn't working, shrugs it off, crawls into bed, and goes to sleep. The following day, they're awakened by their alarms. After they each turn off their phone alarm, they realize someone else is in the bed. The two turn around and are shocked to find each other in the same bed. Jiang starts screaming and calls him a pervert as she snatches the covers up to her chest. Panicked, Dingran hurriedly puts on his shirt and rushes out of the room. Our heroine then calls her mom, asking why she didn't tell her that Dingran is staying at the house. Turns out their parents had set them up so that the two could mend their relationship. While on the way to work, a cheerful and hopeful Dingran recalls the earlier conversation with Jiang's mom, where she revealed that our heroine actually rejected Xiao's proposal. Meanwhile, Liao also visits the countryside and invites Jiang to eat a popsicle by the lake. This is when a handsome guy stops nearby with his suitcase. Liao, who isn't wearing her contact lenses, gets up to flirt with the guy. But when he walks closer to her, she discovers it's Qifei, the exact person she's been avoiding. She asks him if he's following her, but he says he's there to see a friend. He then makes a call to his friend, and Dingran walks in while on the phone with him. That evening, the four of them spend a lovely evening together, where Liao and Qifei finally mend their relationship. The following day, Liao and Jiang attend a reunion. They get shit-faced, but thankfully their partners arrive to bring them home safely. On their way, Jiang asks Dingran to stop by a lake to watch the fireflies. With her inhibitions gone, she leans against the car, calls his name, and fireflies romantically surround them. Jiang cautiously admits that she still likes him and then kisses him. Dingran is startled, but melts into her. Later, he tucks her into bed for the night. The next morning, a hungover Jiang asks Liao how she got home last night. The latter teasingly gestures towards Dingran. Not remembering much, her heroine looks worried and asks if anything embarrassing happened. Later, Dingran takes Jiang to their former middle school, which is now a farming campus. He reminds her of their hangout spot, how his bike kept breaking down, and how he had to walk to school. Jiang says she remembers his bike breaking down for an entire year. Dingran tries to explain, but she doesn't let him finish. He tries again to explain, but she once again cuts him off and shuts him down. Now back in her room, Jiang is pressing her face into her hands and telling herself to calm down and not to fall for Dingran again. Later, our hero blurts out that he likes her. He walks up to her wanting to publicly proclaim his love. A shocked Jiang covers her ears and says that she's tired of listening to all the bullshit and runs upstairs. Back in her room, Jiang tells herself that she must have misunderstood things and tells herself to go to sleep and gets under the covers. Unfortunately, her sleep is restless. The next morning, Jiang realizes that staying longer will only complicate things. So she packs her shit and goes downstairs. Just then, she gets a call from Dingran, notifying her that their teacher has been hospitalized. After they visit the hospital, they get caught in a sudden downpour. He has her wait on the sidewalk while he runs away. Suddenly, a huge green leaf shields her from the rain, and when she looks up, she notices Dingran beside her, carrying an identical one, and they smile. Back at home, they dry off and change into comfy clothes. Dingran reminisces about their school days when Jiang thought their meetings were by chance. In reality, his bike never had a problem. He would just invent ways to bump into her. Just then, they're interrupted by the bickering of Liao and Qifei. Angry about something, Liao runs upstairs. Jiang says she'll go check on her, but as she gets up from the table and walks by him, he grabs her arm and questions the timing. Jiang hesitates and says that she should check on Liao first. She then releases herself from his grip and rushes to her friend's aid. Upstairs, Liao is angry because she found out that Qifei intentionally defaulted on their studio's rent, knowing all the storefronts in that area belonged to his family. To add insult to injury, he also bought all her inventory. Jiang arrives and stops the duo from basically killing each other. The next morning, the girls decide to return to the city. When they arrive home, Jiang's mother asks how things went with Ding Ran, to which our heroine says they pretty much did their own thing. In the meantime, Ding Ran returns to the villa and discovers that everyone's left. Back at home, as Jiang is replaying Ding Ran's words in her head, she gets a message from him saying he'll be returning in a week's time. When he returns, they finally have a chance to talk. Jiang tells Ding Ran that they are technically family and their love is forbidden. In response, Ding Ran says the whole situation is ridiculous and they will never be siblings. Jiang cowers away and says that their parents are together, so their dynamics are complicated and society won't tolerate their situation. Ding Ran angrily declares that he doesn't care about what others think. Resigned, our heroine says that she doesn't want to get caught up in a mindfuck with him. Ding Ran leans very close to her face and asks her to clarify. As their lips are about to make contact, Jiang stomps down on his foot. She then chases him around the kitchen to beat him with some vegetables, but when Ding Ran's dad and mom return, they assume the two are having fun. One day, dad and mom leave for a trip, leaving Jiang and Ding Ran alone at home. While he's at work, Jiang goes into his room and on his nightstand, she discovers his 10-year plan for them. She flips through the pages and finds his notes, drawings, and photos which include her. Jiang starts crying with tears of joy as she goes through more pages. Just then, she receives a call from Qifei, informing her that Ding Ran has met with an accident. She then rushes to visit him at her studio. However, it turns out that Ding Ran is only pulling a stunt to get her attention. Our heroine tells him to stop pretending and to get up. She whacks him on the behind, but he doesn't move off her lap and keeps his eyes closed. A while later, Jiang confesses to going through his secret book at home. The two then confess their feelings for each other and decide to officially date. In the next scene, Ding Ran insists on telling their parents about their relationship. Jiang shakes her head and questions why, if her mother and father were lovers 30 years ago, it has taken them this long to acknowledge it. If they say anything now, it'll definitely cause complications for their parents. She suggests they wait for a good opportunity to tell them. Later, they watch TV together in her room, and when the show ends, she tells him to go to his room. He claims that he really did have a concussion that day and needs her to monitor him. Jiang tells him that he has an early shift tomorrow and pushes him out. He suggests that they have breakfast in the morning. Our heroine agrees, and Ding Ran finally staggers away. The following day, our lovely couple have breakfast and drive to work together. Elsewhere, Liao takes a pregnancy test after missing a period. Just then, Jiang's mother starts calling her name. Our heroine freaks out and starts getting dressed. She tells Ding Ran to find a place to hide as mom knocks on the door. Panicked, Jiang kicks his ass out of bed, sending him thumping to the floor. Moments later, mom opens the door and comes in to hug her, while she frantically waves at Ding Ran to run. But a few seconds later, mom herself leaves, bringing the tense situation to an end. Before parting ways, Jiang asks for a hug. She then tells him to delay in order to avoid them showing up at the same time. After he heads to his room, Jiang receives a call from Liao with the news that she's pregnant. Later, mom runs into the living room and summons everyone to ask Jiang if she's pregnant. She's carrying Jiang's stack of books on pregnancy. Our heroine denies it, but mom tells her that it's okay. She just wants to know who the father is. In response, an annoyed Jiang shouts that it's not her who is pregnant. It's actually Liao who's expecting a baby. Jiang reveals that she got the books for her friend. Meanwhile, at the studio, Liao has set up a table full of baby things for Qifei to see. After many guesses, things finally sink in for Qifei. He is overjoyed and asks Liao if they should get the wedding dress first, the ring, or an appointment. Liao replies that she doesn't want any of this, she just wants a hug. He happily complies and swings her around in his arms as he yells that he's going to be a father. The following day, mom overhears Jiang on the phone with someone. She perks up when she realizes that Jiang is getting ready for a date. So, mom calls Ding Ran's dad to say that Jiang is dating someone. A while later, Jiang, in a face mask, meets up with Ding Ran, who is wearing a matching mask plus a baseball cap. The two hug, and it appears that the parents have followed Jiang there, but they keep their distance. Both parents are trying to get a better look at the guy, but his back is turned to them. Just then, Ding Ran demands a kiss, so he backs Jiang up against the wall and slowly pulls down her mask. He then pulls down his own mask and flips his cap backwards to kiss her. But as mom tries to get a closer look, she accidentally trips, startling the life out of her almost kissing couple. Realizing that they've been caught, Jiang forces Ding Ran to go away. As he flees the scene, mom inquires why her boyfriend is running away. Jiang says that it was a stranger walking by who had asked for directions. Mom asks if it's normal to be kissing and hugging some stranger, and then calls her out for lying. Later, Jiyoung reunites with Ding-ran, who doesn't understand why they have to hide their relationship. She says she wants to tell their parents after they're married, but he doesn't understand what the difference is. In response, Jiyoung says that she's worried that her mother will cancel the wedding because technically, they'll be brother and sister. One evening, Mom and Dad see Jiyoung and Ding-ran hugging and caressing each other. Mom wants to approach them, but Dad tells her to leave it alone for now. At breakfast the next morning, it's a quiet meal until Mom asks Jiyoung if she and Ding-ran have plans to get married. Our young couple chokes on their food, and Dad tells them not to be so surprised. He also adds that Ding-ran's disguise wasn't that great. Jiyoung says that it's her fault and that she's the one who didn't want to tell them and forced him to run away. Mom apologizes and asks if she's worried that she wouldn't marry Ding-ran's father. Ding-ran replies that that's exactly what she thought and they wanted to wait until their parents' wedding to tell them. Mom then asks if they have plans to get married, but Jiyoung looks away. Right then, Ding-ran steps up and reveals that he's liked her for a long time and wants to marry her. Hearing this, Jiyoung tears up and finally tells her mother that the person she liked in school was Ding-ran. She continues by revealing that it's been 10 years and she's never liked anyone else. Just then, Mom says she has an idea. If they decide to get married, then the four of them should get married together. The young couple laugh at this, and then the foursome enjoy their happy breakfast together. Cut to the next scene. All 6 of them, including Kifei and Liao, have registered for their marriage. Then, Ding-ran's dad presents a cake to celebrate. Jiyoung, Ding-ran, Liao, and Kifei have also decided to honeymoon back in their hometown. During their honeymoon, Jiyoung spends her days with Liao and Kifei as Ding-ran is busy at the hospital. At dinner, Liao asks if she misses him. Jiyoung says she does and hopes he returns soon. Suddenly, Ding-ran shows up from behind. Our heroine is elated as she hugs him around the neck. The following day, our couple goes for a lovely stroll in the countryside and reminisces about the good old days. The show ends on a happy note as they enjoy the fresh air and the beautiful sunset together.